you and I were there live in our analyst capacity. And of course, we flew in early to do our 6-5 thing, did multiple videos. We met with senior management. A little backstory, the company is on an absolute run. CEO Jim Anderson has 10x the stock since his arrival, and I think that's pretty awesome. They announced their 40th anniversary. Who would have thunk? Wow. The company is all about low power, all about performance, small form factor, and even 40 years later, they are sticking to their guns. But highlight of this was the announcement of Avant, and that is an FPGA that doubles the market size that the company can go back for. And maybe they're being a little bit conservative about that doubling, but that's what I love about Jim Anderson and his team. They're conservative and they hit their numbers. So Avant, 30x more performance. They did competitive dive bombs on AMD Xilinx, Intel Altera, 2.5x on power, 2x higher bandwidth, and 6x smaller. And you know what, Dan? When it comes to semiconductors, performance, power, and area is pretty much everything. But we are a little bit more mature as a semiconductor industry now, and it's about 50+% software. And that's where the company has done a fine job with its SDKs going across AI, going across vision, going against cyber resiliency. They have an automation stack and they have an ORAN stack to make it easier for customers to go in and implement their technology, because bag of parts just doesn't work anymore. Fine job by the team. Great dinner afterwards. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, Pat, absolutely. You know, Marvell. We'll talk about them later. But yeah, we came in for the big Lattice Avant launch. You know, you and I have been working closely as advisors to the company, giving feedback along the way. You know, the company's kind of specialized itself at the low end of the market, but there is kind of this white space, you know, with Altera and Xilinx really focusing in the premium tier. There is this mid-market and this need for these agile, flexible FPGA offerings that can meet both power in terms of lower power and at the same time delivering performance. The company really focused on those three things. One, the power and being able to deliver lower power. And they showed some really wonderful demos. And Pat, we've got a great 6.5 video that everybody can check out that digs into this a little bit more. They also focused on the fact that while being lower power, it is delivering that higher performance. And then, of course, there's so many AI at the edge applications that are going to be usable. They showed some really interesting utilization potential in the automotive space and object detection. These are all going to be areas that are going to be growing and scaling. And the best thing, Pat, about what they're doing is that 90% of their current customers are the potential customers for the Avant line. So, you know, a lot of times when a company kind of diversifies its portfolio, people say, oh, no, are they going to be able to break in? Well, in this particular business, the break in is 90% of the battle. So they're already in front of these customers. There's already an interest in working with Lattice. Lattice has been able to show resiliency, growth, and demand throughout this pandemic. And even kind of during this period where semis have been a little out of vogue, Lattice has been able to continue to show growth. There's a little bit of a theme of that. We'll talk about that actually today when we talk about MongoDB as well. But other companies that are they're market takers. They're creating markets, but they're really taking market in an area where they're not getting a lot of competition, Pat. And you and I both said this. I think we both even tweeted it. Very interesting to see how incumbents like Intel and AMD react as Lattice comes up market and starts playing a little bit more in their sandbox. So if they react, it's a legitimizer for what Lattice is doing. And if they don't react, is it free market to be had? And I'm not saying it is, but I'm also not saying it isn't. We had the chance also to get on stage with the CEO, Jim Anderson, and a few of his senior executives, and we talked to them further. Another 6.5 pod. Pat, am I calling our number enough here? Another 6.5 pod that you have to check out. It's a nice deep dive, both from a technical, from an investor, and from a customer experience lens. You can better understand what the company's doing and why we tend to believe they're in a really good position long-term with this investment. So I'll leave it there. A lot more to come, Pat, but good stuff from Lattice.